Welcome to Lesson 2 in the Peace First Digital Mentor Training, Building Blocks for the Mentoring Relationship, Youth Development, and the Peacemaking Journey. All mentoring relationships share a common foundation, a commitment to healthy youth development. The Peace First Challenge aims to build this foundation by equipping young people with goal-setting and problem-solving skills that will usher in a lifetime of productive contributions to their individual communities and to society as a whole. In order for you to make a meaningful impact as a digital mentor, it's important to first discuss basic tenets of youth development and relationship building. In this lesson, we will define what it means to be a mentor, broadly and within the Peace First Challenge. We will explore the 4 categories of development, the 5 C's of positive youth development, building the mentoring relationship, and the stages of group development. Following this lesson, we will continue to explore these concepts in 3 discussion activities. What is a mentor? In purely dictionary terms, a mentor is an experienced and trusted advisor. Mentoring relationships typically pair an adult with an adolescent, but there's no official age minimum or maximum for mentors or mentees. In functional terms, a mentor is a source of guidance and wisdom. Individual mentoring relationships focus on different things: education, careers, conflict related generally to adolescence, achieving one's true purpose, gaining confidence, and standing up for your family and beliefs. We can look to popular culture for instances of mentoring. Mentors appear across history, in literature, and on television and movie screens. Not unlike any number of ideas and institutions, we trace the word mentor all the way back to ancient Greece. In Homer's Odyssey, Mentor is an older man living on Odysseus' estate. While the man himself was insignificant, the goddess Athena used him as a vessel for conveying knowledge and wisdom to Odysseus' son Telemachus. While Athena provided the mentorship, Mentor lent his name to the effort. What is a Peace First mentor? Like all mentors, a Peace First mentor is interested in providing guidance to a young person or group of young people. However, in a departure from traditional mentoring, all Peace First mentoring will take place online through the Peace First Challenge website and digital platform. As a Peace First digital mentor, you will mentor young people ages 13 to 24 with a focus on 13 to 18-year-olds. This particular swath of young people are starting to find and refine their interests. They are beginning to make choices and gain experience that will affect the rest of their lives. Peace First digital mentors will fill 2 positions. Each position is integral to the success of young people who accept the Peace First Challenge. All mentors will begin as Community Sherpas. The Community Sherpa mentor will interact with multiple youth across a variety of projects. Community Sherpas will guide you through the registration process and into the Peace First Challenge. As more youth come into the community and begin to define and start working on projects, they can request a project coach. When this occurs, Community Sherpas who are ready for more focus can fill out a screening questionnaire and complete a pre-match survey. These mentors will receive notification of their acceptance and can begin the match initiation process as a project coach. As you begin to think about your role as a Peace First mentor, it's important to reflect on your personal mentoring experience. When you think of a mentor, who comes to mind? Mentors do not have to be formal program-appointed individuals. Informal mentoring is impactful too. Did your mentors include a trusted aunt, uncle, or family friend? Perhaps a teacher or a professor? Maybe you were involved in sports and had a great coach. Were you close with an older kid at your school or in your neighborhood? After this lesson, we will spend more time discussing our own mentors. Reflection on our own experiences with mentoring, as well as popular cultural interpretations of mentoring, is an important step on the journey to mentorship. Equally important, however, is a look into the world of youth development. Research identifies 4 categories of youth development: physical, cognitive, social, and emotional. Each youth moves through the stages at different speeds and in different orders, but all youth will eventually move through all stages on their journey to adulthood. As youth progress through the peacemaking journey, it's important to keep in mind these categories and to plan ahead in case of roadblocks or bumps. Of the 4 categories, physical development is the easiest to identify and observe. However, the same hormones that cause physical development also impact the other 3 categories of development. Cognitive development refers to young people developing their critical thinking skills. Cognitive development will play a large part in the peacemaking journey. Emotional development focuses on a young person's ability to process their thoughts and feelings in productive ways, as well as the ability to convey those thoughts and feelings to others. Social development tasks young people with learning how to relate to others. Sympathizing and empathizing with friends and strangers alike is an important skill. For volunteers who work with young people, it's important to be wary of falling into adultist ways of thinking. Adultism refers to the behaviors and attitudes based on the assumption that adults are better than young people and are entitled to act upon them without their consent. In a mentoring relationship, such as the relationship between youth completing the Peace First Challenge and community Sherpas and project coaches, it's especially important to avoid adultism. The Peace First Challenge should be entirely youth-driven, with mentors and Sherpas providing solicited advice. You should view your mentoring relationship as a partnership. A partnership view shifts the relationship into a circular approach, where everyone is connected and power is distributed evenly. As a Peace First mentor, your task is all about supporting and empowering youth leaders. Mentoring relationships are a valuable component in youth development. Strong adult role models help youth navigate the 4 categories of development. They do not captain the ship completely. When youth have a trusted adult that they can turn to for help and advice, they are less likely to make catastrophic mistakes. When mentoring young people, an easy way to both avoid adultism and to provide consistent and useful support through the categories of development is to practice positive youth development. Positive youth development is essentially exactly what the name suggests: a youth development philosophy that focuses on positive skills and abilities instead of negative habits. By enforcing positive behavior, positive youth development aims to help youth rise even higher. Positive youth development is built on 5 core principles. The 5 C's of positive youth development are integral to a young person's success: competence, confidence, connection, caring, compassion, and character. The 5 C's help detail the 4 categories of youth development. Competence: the ability to make and execute good decisions in regards to social, academic, cognitive, physical, and vocational well-being. Competence involves a young person's ability to address and solve problems in a variety of areas. Social competence refers to interpersonal skills such as conflict resolution. Cognitive competence refers to cognitive abilities such as decision-making. Academic competence refers to school performance as shown in part by grades, attendance, and test scores. Health competence involves using nutrition, exercise, and rest to keep oneself fit. Vocational competence involves work habits and exploration of career choices. Because of the wide range of competencies, it's important for youth to exhibit competence in all categories of development. Confidence: a personal sense of primarily positive self-worth and self-efficacy. A young person successfully making their way through emotional development will begin to reflect healthy confidence levels. Connection: partnership or friendship building as the result of successfully engaging with peers, family, teachers, and community members in mutually beneficial ways. The ability to form healthy relationships indicates that a young person is healthy, as discussed in the social category of youth development. Caring and compassion: feeling sympathy and empathy for strangers and friends alike. Sympathy and empathy show maturity and critical thinking skills and are also indicators of an emotionally mature young person. Character: an internal dial that respects societal and cultural norms but ultimately points towards morality and integrity. Character in a young person manifests itself in social and emotional development. It takes confidence and competence to stand up for your beliefs. A consequential mentor models good character for their mentees through both words and actions. Continue to think about the 5 C's and the ways you can exhibit those behaviors to young people on the peacemaking journey. We will continue to explore the 5 C's and the role they play in positive youth development in an activity called Unbreakable. The next phase of this lesson will focus on combining our own mentoring experiences with positive youth development in order to build the mentoring relationship. Training related to building the mentoring relationship can be summarized with a long-time adage: Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your mentoring relationship be built in a day. Mentoring research reveals a universal truth about mentoring. Longer-lasting relationships yield a higher number of positive outcomes in youth. Volunteering to mentor someone in any situation is a hefty commitment. Few youth mentoring programs match mentees and mentors for under a year. Because of this significant time commitment, it's important for potential mentors to consider the implicit promise they make. Not only is it important to consider the time commitment, it's also important for potential mentors to consider the role they are willing to take on, and alternatively, the role they are unwilling to take on in their match. Each mentoring relationship is different. However, the formula to make them more productive and impactful is the same across the board. A mentor's attitude is alternately the most helpful tool or the deadliest weapon in a mentoring relationship. Good mentors show patience with their mentees, they persist through difficult times, and they communicate openly and honestly. The most important way a mentor can make use of their patience, persistence, and good communication skills is to help their mentees set and reach their own goals. This action is particularly important in the peace-first mentoring relationship. Community Sherpas and project coaches exist to provide assistance, not to complete projects. A large part of successful mentoring is consistency. In order for trust to develop, young people must be able to count on their mentors to be around when they say they'll be around. In the Peace First community, mentors are asked to commit to log on to the website 4 times a week for at least a half hour per session. Additionally, we ask that you respond to all direct inquiries from mentees within 48 hours. One mistake will not ruin a mentoring relationship. Mistakes give young people the chance to see an adult model good problem-solving skills and can be used as teachable moments. Disagreements can be constructive as well. However, even in dissent, it's important to keep in mind patience, persistence, and good communication. Mentees will be resilient as long as they understand that their mentors have the mentees' best interests at heart. Understanding how relationships function in general, as well as understanding the unique circumstances of a mentoring relationship, equips both mentors and mentees to build their match on solid ground. The do's and don'ts of mentoring are straightforward. Every entry on the list is taken straight from the categories of development, the 5 C's, and general positive youth development. The don'ts of mentoring relate back to our discussion of adultism. If you treat your mentees with the respect you would afford a peer, it's easy to avoid any of the listed problem areas. Another useful thought exercise to help you walk on the right side of the mentoring do's and don'ts is to put yourself in the shoes of your mentee. Think back to when you were their age. How did you feel when adults talked down to you, lectured you, or jumped to conclusions about your actions and motives? Following this lesson, we will complete an activity to help us see the world from our mentees' eyes. At the risk of sounding too obvious, group mentoring is different than one-on-one mentoring. Not only do group mentors need to create a relationship between themselves and each youth in their match, they also need to make sure the youth in their match have a relationship with one another. For project coaches, mentoring a group of young people through the Peace First Challenge, this point will be especially important. All members of the project bring specific skills and strengths to the group. No one skill is better or worse than another skill. What's important is using individual skills together to achieve the group's goals. We're going to spend a little time studying the stages of group development. The first stage of group development is called forming. During this stage, group members get together, but it remains to be seen if the group has common interests or motives or skills. They are merely gathered objects. Stage 2 is called storming. The group is beginning to explore their connection. As people get to know one another, there may be friction and disagreements. As a group mentor, it will fall to you to help youth work through these frustrations. During stage 3, norming, the group begins to find common ground and put their skills to work. They set goals and assign roles. The arguments lessen as members become more confident in their roles. During the 4th stage of group development, the group starts performing. Deadlines are met, goals are accomplished, the group hits its stride. The final stage of group development is adjourning. During this stage, the group disperses or decides to make new plans. In the Peace First Challenge, the final stage of group development would more accurately be called reflection. After the challenge is over, mentors and mentees will look back on their journey and discuss challenges and successes. We've covered several important topics in this lesson. We defined mentor. We talked about the 4 categories of youth development: physical, cognitive, emotional, and social. You've been warned about the dangers of adultism in mentoring relationships. You heard about the 5 C's: competence, confidence, connection, caring, compassion, and character. The 5 C's led to a general discussion of positive youth development. We then phased into a discussion about building the mentoring relationship and specifically building a group mentoring relationship. We rounded out our lesson with a look into the stages of group development. There's plenty more to be said about youth development and building the mentoring relationship. Additional literature about all of these topics is available on the resources page. We will now turn to this lesson's discussion activities. The fun doesn't stop after this presentation. Continue to explore elements of positive youth development by completing the discussion activities listed in this lesson. Chat with your fellow trainees about who mentored you. Brainstorm real-life scenarios that teach the importance of the 5 C's, and put yourself in a mentoring mindset by remembering what it was like to be your mentee's age. Have questions about this lesson or the Peace First Challenge? Reach out to a member of the Peace First team at pfchallenge@peacefirst.org.